You have to explain this like it's a fifth grader. Like they don't know that it's jewelry unless you tell them it is. We as creators, we think it's obvious. We think, oh, they can see the picture. But what if they didn't see the picture? What if the picture didn't load? Could they still understand what your website and what your product is?
Welcome to Thrive by Design, the podcast for ambitious, independent jewelry brands looking to profit from their products. Get ready to make more and sell more doing what you love without spending every single waking minute doing it. Hey, and if you're a creative, fashion, or product-based business, I want to welcome you to the show. I'll be dropping big tips on launching, growing, and scaling your business so you can spend more of your precious time using your creativity to make money. You ready? All right, let's do this. Welcome to the Thrive by Design podcast, episode 218. I am pumped to be here today with a very special guest. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Tracy Matthews. I'm the Chief Visionary Officer over at Flourish and Thrive Academy. This is the Thrive by Design podcast. It's been fun. I've been interviewed on a lot of podcasts this year, in addition to interviewing people on mine. And I've had so many people reach out to me saying, like, your podcast changed my life, or I really enjoy it. It's making me think about my business in a different way. And these are people in all sorts of industries. You know, I really started this podcast to help jewelry designers, but I realized that the advice we're given here is helpful for a lot of different kinds of people. So today we're going to be talking about the biggest website design and conversion mistakes that jewelry designers make, or that e-commerce people make selling products on their website. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about how to fix those things. Today on the show, I have a very special guest. Her name's Erin Alexander, and she is a coach in our SOS coaching program. She specializes in website conversion and design. And we had a really fun, interesting conversation, which I'm going to share with you in a minute. But the reason why I wanted to have her on is I love talking to our coaches about what they love doing and what they love helping our students with. And when we first launched our SOS coaching program 2 years ago, I cannot believe it's been 2 years to date. I had this big picture vision of us being able to help people with their online sales. And here's the reason why. I knew that we were going to see a dip in the economy coming sometime soon. And, you know, there are varying reports on what's going to happen. But I know that when economies weaken and we have cyclical changes, that the first thing that starts to really struggle is retail, brick and mortar. And so if designers were always, you know, putting all their eggs and trying to sell to stores or trying to do in-person events, then they were not like working towards the goal that we all have, because I think we all have this goal, and give me a heck yes if you have this goal, of life-proofing our businesses. And I started having this conversation years ago, and because I was feeling that energy of what was happening when my business was taken out. And while it seemed like it happened so quick, I knew in hindsight that there was a lot of things that I could do to really protect the stability and the safety of my company so that I was life-proofing it and recession-proofing it, essentially. And it's been fun to be a part of the success of so many businesses and just to be able to help and support them and guide them and show them the gaps, the things that they don't see. And in fact, I'm hosting a really awesome masterclass this week called How to Break Through Your Profit Plateau. And I'll be walking you through my three-step system for breakthrough business growth, accelerating revenues through 6 and 7 figures, and scaling quickly while working less. And I'm very excited about this because I'm going to be walking you through the desired brand effect. It is our basically success model over here at Flourish and Thrive. We've helped thousands of designers implement this model in their business to see them go on to have great success over and over again. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about why you need to remove yourself from your business in order to grow, and how to do so with 100% confidence, how to break through your financial plateau without having to hire a bunch of people, my proven formula for eliminating overwhelm and getting your nights and weekends back while your revenues go up, and why doing less and wholesaling will actually make your business more profitable. You're going to really love this one. Plus, the exact systems that you can implement in your business that will automate tasks, giving you the time to rediscover your passion for design. So if you'd like to register for the masterclass, it's happening this week. Head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/breakthrough. That's flourishthriveacademy.com/breakthrough. And we'll also have a link over in the show notes. We expect this to sell out, so make sure that you reserve your seat right away. Also, if you are someone who wants to move faster in your business and really start crushing your goals, like designers that you've heard on this podcast, you're going to hear us talk a lot about Gina and Jared Rushton, who are grads of the program, and Twyla Dill, who's still in our program and just totally crushing it. And designers like the very well-known Jennifer Dawes, who we're helping build her online presence. And she is in my inner circle in SOS. And I love seeing her progress. She's been building out the tech for a new custom website ring builder, which I'm very, very excited for her for, because she really is trying to transition into more direct-to-consumer sales. So great job, designers. I'm super excited. Before I dive in, I'm going to introduce Erin. She deserves it. Erin Alexander is the founder and creative director of Alexander Design Company, a strategy-focused website design company for online shops. She geeks out over marketing strategy, SEO, and helping women business owners make more money online. She's also a wife, a mom of 2, and an avid iced coffee drinker. You're going to love this episode with Erin, so why don't we dive right in? I'm so excited for today's guest. We are going to be talking all things about getting your website to a place where it's converting. And now you've heard me talk about this before, and you heard me talk about this in the intro, but website design for conversion is one of the most important things that you need to be thinking about as you're putting your Shopify or other platform site up. Because if you aren't considering this first, then you're going to be in big trouble. So today's guest is Erin Alexander. I'm so excited to have you here today, Erin.
Thank you, Tracy. I'm so happy to be here.
Erin is one of our SOS coaches. She actually was introduced to us by one of our superstar student partners, I should say, husband and wife team, Gina and Jared Rushton, who have interviewed a couple of times over the past several years. And they went through a huge brand revamp. And you probably even saw, if you looked at our blog and saw the before and after of their website, it was pretty remarkable what Erin did. And so I asked Erin to be on the show today because she's just doing some really great things with our designers and helping them get more sales online just from making small tweaks to their website. Erin, it's so fun to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to talk. I love website design.
You love website design. Well, we were talking before and you said, I was like, our students are really loving you. They're getting great results after talking to you, coaching. And you're like, yeah, I feel bad. I always have to close my calendar because it gets too full, which is a good thing. That means that they're like getting great results from you.
Yeah, it makes me really excited because I love seeing other people's results.
It's so, so fun. So I'm going to ask you a bunch of things and we'll talk about results and stuff like that a little bit later. But before we dive in, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, tell everyone about your journey and how you got into website design and the whole thing.
Yeah, so I am a website designer. I'm the owner and founder or creative director at Alexander Design Company. We're just a really small agency, but I love working with women business owners, and we now focus on shop owners. So this is perfect. I got started, I've been running my business for 3 years, but prior to that, I had taken web design in college, in high school. I've always kind of been in this world, blogging on my own. I had like a health and fitness blog where I made some money that way. And so 3 years ago, I just felt like I wanted to be home with my daughter, and what could I do? And I actually started out doing logos and branding, and I just quit doing logos and branding. But I really very quickly fell in love with web design, like more than I had ever realized that it could possibly be. And now I'm very focused on strategy and design and technical aspects of strategy and design and how they work together to get more sales.
I love that. So how did you pivot? Because you're working with a lot of product-based businesses now. How did you pivot? You just started working with women-based entrepreneurs and then you started getting into more e-commerce sites?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. At the beginning of this year, I thought, I just was taking on any kind of clients that came my way. And I had to learn so much about e-commerce. The first e-commerce store I built was a huge party supply store. And I just had to learn so much. And I realized that so much of this was missing from all the information out there on web design. And so I just kind of jumped in. I'm like, I need a sign that I should go all in on this. And my friend Gina, who we talked about, she's like, do it. So I did.
It's like, I can refer you tons of people, all my friends in SOS.
Yeah. And it's been really, really great.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think whenever you can specialize in one thing and it's something specific like e-commerce, because I would probably want to, if I had a straight up e-commerce site, I would want to be working with someone who is specialized in e-commerce specifically, you know?
Yeah. In the world of selling online for a service, like what I do for myself and what I do for my product-based clients is completely different. Like it's completely different shopper customer journeys. And so there's not a lot, in my experience, there's not a lot of direction for product-based businesses beyond like, oh, use this e-commerce platform or something like that. It doesn't give a lot of, like, it doesn't help point them towards getting more sales.
Yeah. And we, like most people, we all recommend Shopify. And so we're like, just get a Shopify site. So people get a Shopify site and then they put all their things in, it's formatted weird and it looks janky. There is no customer journey. Do you want to explain a little bit what you mean by a customer journey?
Yeah. So what I mean is like the very first time someone lands on your website and how they're going to proceed. Like I try to imagine like we're walking into the front door of a store. Like what's going to happen? Are we going to check out the racks to the left first or the right first? Like how is this all organized? That's what happens in stores. We just don't realize it. Like it's just automatically there. You know, the checkout's in the back so that we have to walk through the whole store. All of this psychology is there. We just don't correlate that to online shopping. So we do that by, you know, like the order of things, the way we direct things, what things are included on the homepage and what things are included in the footer. All of those things push customers through to the end result of, for shop owners, buying something.
I'm curious, what do you recommend you put in the header? Because that's always a tough thing. Sometimes people have so many things and sometimes they don't have enough.
I think the header should be simplified. Like it needs to have the most essential things, the about page, the contact page. If you have a physical location, you need to have your store hours or your store information up at the top. Sometimes there's like an announcement bar. I think that's a really great thing to drive people towards your number one goal. But everything else needs to be in the footer. Like people think that, oh, they need to know what my care instructions are, or they need to know what my shipping rates are, but they don't. They don't need to know that before they purchase. They need to know that later.
Exactly. That's good to know. I know so many people like crowd their header or they don't have anything except for only products. And I know that the About page is one of the most visited pages on the website.
Yeah, especially for smaller businesses and handmade businesses. We want to get to know the creator. Like we want to. That's why we're there shopping for small businesses. Otherwise, we would go to like some giant online platform, right?
Everyone would be just shopping at Nordstrom or Amazon or whatever. I mean, they do, but you know, exactly. This is our opportunity to get you, like, to help you get business is by teaching you things like this, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So, you've been doing conversion design for how long?
I think I really started focusing on conversions about a year and a half ago.
Okay, cool. And I mean, it seems like you've been doing it a lot longer because you're really good at it.
Well, prior to running my own business, I worked in an ad department at a newspaper. So, I mean, all of ads are geared towards conversion. And I've also, I studied design and sales in school. So it kind of is just one of those things that started to come naturally. And then I started like reading everything I could about it.
Yeah. And then you're like, all right, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get this. And you're doing a great job. So I would just like reiterate that because your calendar is always booked out with our students, which I love. So let's dive into some of those mistakes. So you've looked at tons of websites of our students and many websites in general. Jess and I, Jess is our head coach over here at Flourish and Thrive, Jessica Gebauer, and her husband is a user experience expert. So she knows a ton about user experience and design and customer journey. And I just know, I don't know how I know, but I just know intuitively by looking at so many websites that actually work, what to do and what not to do. So today we're going to really kind of dive into some of those big mistakes, design and conversion mistakes that are preventing people from actually buying from your website. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to fix them. So Erin, why don't you dive in? I'm just going to kind of like ask you some questions and we'll kind of go through a couple of as many mistakes as we can come up with. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So what's mistake number one?
I think mistake number one is when they have just too much stuff on their homepage. They're not directing the customer through that shopping journey. I'm working on a website right now where we're rebuilding, and she has a quiz at the top. She has some kind of sale. And then, it's just so overwhelming that people don't know where to go. So they end up not going anywhere.
Yes. That's interesting. So a quiz and a sale, and then is there other stuff on it too?
Yeah. And then it goes into her, both of those things are above the header. So then it goes into her header, which has too many different options in it. It also has a really bright search bar, and it's just so overwhelming that it's not directing people towards any one goal. So we end up we took it all down and we simplified it. One call to action at the top, the most important navigation buttons. Maybe there's 4 or 5, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And simple icons that are kind of out of the way for the shopping cart and the search bar, because people know intuitively where to look for those. So we don't need to draw attention to them.
Exactly.
And then just her logo up in the corner so it's not taking up too much space. That gives us the opportunity to put a big header image with a really nice attention-grabbing headline, maybe a subtext, and a button that directs them toward shopping right away, instead of them being super overwhelmed with all the clutter in the top header navigation stuff.
Does it drive you as crazy as it drives me when people have really janky images on the homepage of their site? They took it on their phone and then it's not properly sized, or it's the wrong pixel size, and it's all grainy and you can't, out of focus.
Yes. Sometimes I will tell someone I don't know what we're going to put here yet because I haven't seen it yet, but I'm not worried about it because I know we'll find something. But too many people just rush to put something there that they don't even think about this is the impact. This is what they're going to see first.
Yeah.
You got to put your best foot forward.
So since we've done so many before and afters with Gina and Jared, and I know that you worked on their website redesign, I'm just going to call them out, because when they had their first website, which wasn't bad, it just was hard to tell what they did. You couldn't really tell when you got on the website, are you a wedding photographer? Is this a website for blankets? Because it was a jewelry website and the feature was on the couples, nothing on the product. And so they were really lovely images, quite frankly, but the images were not cropped properly to bring the focus onto their jewelry. So you couldn't really tell what they were all about.
Yeah. With those lifestyle images, it's really important to be focused on the jewelry and then have a little bit of the background, because we want to be able to get some context from the picture, but we don't want the couple to be the priority. You're completely right there. I just saw a really great one. Megan in SOS. She has a fantastic picture. It's highlighted directly on her products, but you can tell by the picture that this woman's in her 30s. She's really casual. She's wearing jeans. She's comfy. You can tell a lot about the picture, even though you can't see the person in it.
Oh, okay. Awesome. I love that. So having really clean, focused pictures, if you're going to use model shots, make sure that you're cropping them in a way that allows for context, and that you're also cropping them, I don't know what you think, in a way where you can move the image almost off center so that you can put some text, as you mentioned before, in one of the corners.
People don't realize that text really is really important on your website, especially from the strategy standpoint of it. Search engines and Google, they don't see the picture. So the text gives them context as to what's on the picture. It's also the thing people connect with. Even though we see the picture, we still need those words. They have to go together. And that's another one of the big mistakes I have noticed in doing a lot of website reviews in SOS. People don't include the word jewelry at all on their website. And so I think back, you have to explain this it's a 5th grader. They don't know that it's jewelry unless you tell them it is.
Mm-hmm.
You have to use that word. We as creators, we think it's obvious. We think, oh, they can see the picture. But what if they didn't see the picture? What if the picture didn't load? Could they still understand what your website and what your product is? That's a big important part of your website strategy also.
That's a really good point. I never even thought about that because you just think that, duh, like people would do that, but apparently they're not.
Yeah, it seems obvious and repetitive to us as creators, but it's not when you look at it from the outside perspective.
So do you feel like we're complete on too many options and not funneling the customers through the website?
Yeah.
Cool. What is the second mistake, you think?
I think the second thing I'm always helping people with is the way they name things on their website. So sometimes the students don't realize that they need to name their products in a way that describes the product. So I think it's really important that we have fun, creative names, but we also have to tell what it is in that same breath almost. Mm-hmm. So like saying, this is the Rosie rose gold necklace. That goes a long way in explaining. It comes back to that telling people what it is and not assuming that they know. And this is one of the things that I notice most often is like people want to name their things, even like their shop. They want to call it something cute like boutique or instead of like the shop page. And it's not clear enough for the everyday person. So they don't know where to go, where to find it.
Or where to purchase it, right?
Yeah. And I saw one recently where her shop page was called the gallery page, and it didn't automatically connect that's where I was supposed to go to shop.
Oh, I would think a gallery would be just past jewelry that they've designed that is not for sale.
That's what I thought too, like pictures of the person, but it was the storefront part.
Oh, interesting. So if you're trying to get all fancy doing like gallery or portfolio or something, and you actually have an e-commerce site, then I don't usually on my site, but I don't sell anything on my site since all my work is made to order. So
yeah, and that's a whole different story. Like if you're having a different kind of conversation where the checkout isn't the end point, whether you're doing custom work or I have to have a conversation with you before you create it, that's a different kind of process that sometimes we just think, oh, it's a store. It works the same way, but it doesn't.
Exactly. Yeah. So I know that sometimes people do weird naming conventions on their photos too.
Yeah. The most common, I had a coaching call yesterday with someone who's like, what? I'm like, what is this picture named? And I tried to save the picture and it tells you what the name of the picture is. And it was the photographer's name. So that's just hurting your business.
Yeah.
Your like structure of your website, the technical side. So we need to be naming our photos the same thing as the product in them. So if I use that same like rose gold necklace again, your picture should say rose gold necklace when you upload it to Shopify. And you could also attach your business name at the end.
I was going to say, would you put your business name on there or your name?
Yeah. And this goes such a long way in growing your business. I know we kind of talk about Gina and Jared a lot, but we did this for their business in May. We went through and renamed every single thing in there, and their sales immediately started. Like they used to get like a sale every day. Now it's several sales every day. Like it was an immediate turnaround from just naming the pictures and the products correctly so that they can be found through Google and other things when they're searching for them.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really incredible.
That's so awesome. I'm so happy for them. They're doing so great.
Me too.
Okay, let's talk about the next thing. So we got weird naming conventions. We have too many options and not funneling customers through to the sale. What's the next thing?
So I think the next thing is just weird formatting or even not being creative with the formatting. So a lot of times people are told, oh, build a website or build your storefront on Shopify. And then they just try to plug it in.
Mm-hmm.
And
plug it into a template.
Yeah. And it's a good starting point, but it's not perfect. One thing I notice is people don't look for weird spaces, especially if they're not looking at their website on different size screens. That's a big thing that we have to be aware of as shop creators, especially shop owners. I think it's 50% of store sales happen on the mobile now.
Yeah.
And so we have to be aware of what it looks like on mobile, paying attention to weird formatting or spacing, how things look on mobile. And then I think this kind of goes together, but using the sections that are built in to Shopify or to your template creatively, you can, just because it says it's a banner with text. You don't have to use it that way. It could be a solid color picture with text on top of it. You can be creative with how those sections look. You don't have to follow the template to a T. You just want to use it as a starting point.
Exactly. And you could also use services where you can basically have them, like if you can't hire a designer like Erin right now because it's not in your budget, you can always use a service that can make little tweaks, like the amount of spaces or resizing the area where your logo goes. Like a huge mistake, like the weirdest formatting mistake I see people doing is they use all of the above the fold space for a stupid logo. I'm like, that is the worst use of space. You need to get like images of your jewelry above there in your navigation bar and important stuff. And if you're using it, wasting that space on just a logo, you got a big problem.
Yeah. Sometimes like the logo will be too big and it's filling up the whole screen. And then I have to scroll already before I can even see anything. That is a big mistake I noticed.
I also see people like when they have their about page or a blog where it's just like weird, really weird formatting where there's a ton of white space around everywhere. Like they haven't fully utilized the page. And sometimes that can be like a sizing issue on an individual's computer, but you can always tell when it really looks weird because it's like all the text is one, or they haven't like really broken up the text in a way where the eyes can delineate like a headline versus like body text versus like the pieces that they want to pull out to really emphasize.
Yeah, I totally agree. And actually that's one of the things that Shopify has in the works, because right now you can't really break up your pages very easily. Beyond your homepage, you can't do a lot of that stuff without knowing at least a little bit of HTML or some coding, or getting really creative with like creating graphics in something like Canva before you upload them to your site. But I'm really excited because Shopify announced at their convention earlier this year that they're going to add those sections to other pages. And I think that will be a game changer for Shopify as a platform.
It'd be really cool if they did something that was like, drag and drop or something.
Yeah, like I'm also a Squarespace authorized trainer, so I've done a lot of stuff on Squarespace, and you can do that on all of their pages. Whereas on Shopify, you only have the homepage. So I think like adding this addition in will really help shop owners have more unique pages for those supporting pages that aren't the homepage. There's a lot of ways you can be creative. Like I said, if you have a banner image, you can just make a solid color background in Canva and load that as the photo and put text on top of it. That helps break things up. You can also create graphics in Canva and then load them to your website as images. So there's some things that I like to be wary there because some of that text you need on your website for SEO purposes, but it is a great way to add more interest to your graphics without having to know how to code, or, because some of that would have to be coded in with a developer, but using some of those little tricks creatively, you can add a lot of personality to your website beyond the template that you selected.
That's awesome. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that you can do that aren't necessarily where you think it might be coding, but it's really just graphically based.
Yeah.
So that's easy for anyone who's not a coder to do.
Yeah, you can just use Canva as a free graphic design tool. They even have shapes and fonts and stuff for you to use. Whereas when I make it, I have to go find all those things. They have a selection for you. So for someone who's not a professional designer, it's a really great tool to do some of that stuff. You can also use that to create your social media graphics or maybe a banner in your email list. It's a really cool tool if you haven't checked it out. I would definitely send people there.
Another mistake we were talking about is having too many pop-ups.
Yes.
On their site. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So pop-ups work. There's statistics that say they work, but we have to be careful with how they work because they can also be overwhelming and they can also annoy people and send them out. So you want to be really selective about what pop-ups you're allowing and the goals of those pop-ups. So if your main goal of your website is to get sales, which it should be, then maybe you use your pop-up as a supporting goal to get people on your email list when they're going to leave your website or when they've scrolled down a percentage. But what I see that happens a lot is I will land on a website and it just floods me with pop-ups.
Right away. And then you're like, how do I get out of this thing? And then it causes people to bounce.
Yeah, that reminds me of another big mistake people make. But you're right. So like that makes you want to leave because I don't know what's happening. And or if especially like your brand colors, like sometimes this is I feel bad using this example, but someone had like a really bright, like danger red, and the pop-ups were like all these bright reds, and it triggered like, oh my gosh, this is the wrong thing in my brain. Like, so using like what we know about color psychology and pop-ups, like we have to use those smartly. They are really powerful tools for our business, but we also have to use them in a way that makes sense and supports our goals.
Well, tell us a little bit about color psychology now that you
Now I got into that. Yeah. So every color in the color wheel, like if represents things that people need. And we automatically associate colors with other things. So like we associate green with money and eco-friendliness and things that are natural. We associate red with danger because of stop signs and fire trucks. So if you're using red in your brand colors, that's fine. That's great. Your brand colors could be anything, but you have to think about how you're using them. So if something pops up and it's a giant red sign or giant red words, our brain immediately thinks danger and we want to turn it off. And so if red was one of your brand colors, then I would say use it in a supporting way. Maybe it's a little button, or maybe it's a deeper red that's not that same bright red. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that you can get into here. Like we could talk about this in a whole other episode.
I know, we should.
Yeah, it's really, really cool how our brain does these kind of things, like associates colors with branding, with color. So that's how we pick colors when I'm like doing brand strategy. That's how we kind of start with picking colors. Like, what do you want people to think when they see this?
What's the most common color palette shades?
Well, there's trends. So I saw one yesterday that was black and gold, and I'm like, your ideal client must be like millennial aged. Like that's ours. Right now, you'll notice that coral is in a lot of brand colors. Because it's the color of the year. So people tend to, like, as soon as they learn that it's the color of the year, we automatically start to gravitate towards it. Mm-hmm. And you'll also, because you'll see it in stores more often, you'll see it on the runway, you'll see it. So your brain starts to like it. For me, I love all blue color palettes. If it's got navy blue in it, it's mine.
Oh, yeah. We have some like teal blue on our site.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Navigating towards navy blue, and SOS has navy blue colors, actually.
Yeah. So in my bathroom, I have it with like a poppy color. So I have like blue and white stripes. I have it with like a dark teal and a mint green because I really like that soothing color palette. Yeah. I think we do have kind of a similar style.
I like it. I like it a lot. So I have another question for you, because people are always talking about SEO and stuff like that. Where are the most common places to put SEO text on your website?
So the thing that I'm trying to like learn how to talk about SEO in a way that everyone understands. Mm-hmm. So if you think of your whole website as the outline that you would write before you created something. So the headlines and then the bullet points and all of those things are what matters when it comes to SEO. There's some other things like how your site loads and how big text are that are technical aspects that sometimes we don't have a lot of control over as like just regular designers or DIYers. But the keywords is the number one focus. So the headlines that you're using are a great one, are a really important place. And then product titles, mm-hmm. product descriptions, product URLs, and product photo names. Those are the most important on a store.
I talked about that earlier.
Yeah, that's the thing I think I talk about the most is how to create product listings that get you found on SEO or on search engines so that you can grow your business beyond the people you already know in your current network. You'd be surprised at how much else is out there once you start getting those things aligned with your keywords.
Can you give us an example of that? Maybe something like a before and after, like.
So can I use Gina and Jared?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can give you an example. So Gina and Jared Rushton from the Fox and Stone, they have very cool jewelry. I'm obsessed with it. And Gina is a natural born writer. So she's very creative. She loves to name her things really fun, like named after mythological characters or, stories, things like that. But what happens is me as like a regular person who doesn't know anything about mythological things, I want to go and find, let's say, an emerald ring. I'm not going to be searching for something that's called, and I have no good example of a mythological.
Esmeralda the ring or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to be looking for an emerald ring.
Yes.
So when we go through and we rename our things, we don't have to get rid of all the creativity. That's not what we want to do. We want to call it Esmeralda the emerald ring in rose gold or something like that. So that when I'm searching for something along those lines, it's showing up. So you want to have both the creative side and the actual description of the product in your product titles, URLs, listings, descriptions, and photos. Like those 4 things, they all have to go together. They all have to be matching for it to rank on Google.
So everything from the product listing, the photo, the description, and the link to the product on the site, all of them have to match.
Yep, all of them need to match. And then what you'll see is you'll start to show up, is what I'm trying to say, in Google, and you can see trends where people are searching for those exact words. Like on Gina and Jared's site right now, we are watching the trends where people are actually searching for their turquoise ring or a turquoise ring and finding theirs when they're looking at pictures on Google or search options. That's one of their most popular right now. It suddenly started taking off because we fixed some of those search terms.
That is so awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it's really, really cool to see the direct results from something you do. And honestly, most people don't see SEO fixes that fast, but they did. Because it does take time to get your site indexed, which is like just telling Google it exists. And it does take time to kind of like move up the ranks, because you kind of start at the bottom. And once people start clicking on it, they're like, hey, this is interesting. People like it. I'm going to show it to more people.
Oh, interesting.
It's a lot like the algorithms people talk about on Facebook and Instagram. I think it's a little more like direct than the algorithms, but it works the same way.
Do you know anything about how SEO is changing? I saw something recently online.
Yeah, it's changing in a lot of ways. For example, people are now searching like through voice, like we say,
yes, AI.
Hey, you. I'm not going to say any of them. They'll start speaking to me in here. But, what's the top restaurant near me? And so the way people are actually saying phrases is starting to matter more. And then like things like Google starting to rank videos and audio as well as text.
Oh, awesome.
Is new. I don't think that it's yet as strong as the text because there's so much data that backs up the text currently. But they're starting to show like podcast results. They always kind of showed videos because they own YouTube, but
yes,
it's always evolving with the new technology. So I think the big thing is the voice recognition searches right now.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, Shelby, she's doing some CMO consulting, marketing consulting for us over here at Flourish and Thrive. And I met her at an event and she did this whole presentation about AI and how search is like totally shifting to AI technology. So if you have an Alexa plugged in at your home or whatever you call it, an Amazon Echo, and you're just talking and ordering dinner and you say something like, oh, I really want to get my teeth whitened. You'll notice on like minutes later on Instagram, you'll start getting served teeth whitening gel ads.
Yeah. So it's funny because I met with a client who is a brand new mom. So she was kind of talking about like nursing. And then I started getting ads for nursing stuff and I'm not a brand new mom. And I'm like, oh, this is funny because my client was talking about it. I'm like, let's try to trick it. So my husband and I are like talking about how we're going to buy a Tesla, trying to trick it, and it never worked.
Oh, geez.
It's like, we know you're kidding. We know you. We know this is
no, you're not going to invest in a Tesla. That is so funny. Oh my gosh. I love it. So we mentioned this before, but you're part of our SOS coaching program. What is your favorite part about being an SOS coach?
I love getting to meet everyone. So as a web designer, I usually talk to like 2 people a month, but now I'm like talking to 4 or 5 people in a week. And I just love getting to know people. I'm really an extrovert. But I think the coolest thing for me is that this is a very, very focused niche, and still everyone's business is different. Yeah. How they're making money, how they're talking about it, who their ideal client is, it's all different. And all of those things kind of shape their business. And so it doesn't feel repetitive. It's really, I think it's just so fascinating to see so many people in one industry, and they're such good friends. Like there's no competition. It's amazing.
It's so good, right?
Yeah. I just think they're incredible. Everyone I meet.
I love it so much. I interviewed Twyla Tharp, Twyla Tharp's the choreographer. Twyla Dill. I love that name.
Oh yeah.
Last week on the episode, on the podcast, and she just has been having such incredible results. She already had a very successful business before she met us, and she knew she was going to be going into a rough year because her mom was sick and she knew that she was going to probably die. So terrible thing to talk about, but talk about life-proofing her business during all of this and taking 3 months off of work. Her business is up 47%, which is super cool and exciting for her because like she was able to like really be able to take the time that she needed to grieve.
Yes.
So, and step away without having to worry about making money, which is great, right?
Yeah. And I love how you're teaching how to get customers from online. Like, so right now you're running the train your customers to shop online, right? Mm-hmm. I think this is so valuable because the world is going towards more online stuff. And I just think it's so fascinating that there could be so many different branches of one tight niche.
There are. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. I love that intensive. It's so fun.
I'm excited.
It's so good. Erin, thank you so much for being here today. Where can people cyberstalk you?
Thanks. I am so excited that I got to come on here. So I'm mostly on Instagram. My handle is Alexander Design Co. Other than that, I would say my website is the next place I hang out. I just love being there. Blogging, on my newsletter. Those are the places. Amazing. Instagram or my website.
We'll have links to all those things in the show notes. Erin, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you so much, Tracy. This was really fun.
This was so good. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening today. Make sure that you register for Breakthrough Your Profit Plateau. And if for some reason you want to move a little bit faster and just get straight to getting help from us and chatting with one of our coaches on the phone, I'd love to invite you to book a strategy session. Our strategy sessions are 45-minute sessions where we help you kind of identify your big picture vision for your business, take a look at where you are now, and figure out where the gaps are that are kind of preventing you from getting there. And at the end, we're going to give you a strategic plan so you can walk away and implement it either with our help or take it and do it on your own. It's going to be super fun. So if you'd like to learn more about that, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/strategy and book your free strategy session today. We have a limited number of seats. So if you're interested in doing that, please apply and fill out the application and you'll receive next steps in your inbox. And I wanted to do one more thing before we go. I love it when people review the show. It really makes me feel like I hear you and you're listening and it's so fun. So I got this review, I think recently, last week. The best podcast for jewelers and other makers. The Thrive by Design podcast is a great resource for makers who want to make a living with their work. I'm in the SOS coaching program that Tracy runs, and I still love listening to the podcast because it clarifies points, lets me hear bits of knowledge for the second time, and is just fun and insightful. I've listened to it from the beginning. And that's from my girl, Twyla. I didn't even know that I was pulling that up. Thank you, Twyla, for that sweet review. I'd love for you to review the podcast too. We're getting so many 5-star reviews. I'd love to hear what you think. Thanks for listening to the show today. This is Tracy Matthews signing off. Take care. Till next time. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It's my mission to help thousands of creative businesses inside and outside the jewelry space use their creativity to make money. Make sure that you're subscribed to Thrive by Design on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever podcasts are played. And we'd love to hear what you think. Please rate and review the show. And if you're inspired, please share this with your friends. Cheers to seeing you flourish and thrive.